All right, Ric Bucher's been covering the NBA since '93, and he's been covering these Warriors for a long time. So let's just move a few steps ahead. Forget talking game for a second.
Okay.
So last night, Steph is literally the best Warrior on the floor times 8. Wiggins is a little meek, missed a lot of open looks.
Yep.
Klay was awful. Lonnie can't score.
Yep.
They don't like Poole. Either do I. I thought Peyton was about as good a teammate as he had. I like Moody more than Kerr does. He's now finally playing him. I like him. I think I kind of know what I get. He's athletic. Yep. He works hard. He's a little physical.
Yep.
Okay. So let's say this thing dovetails and they win the next game, then they lose, they're done.
Yeah.
They're not going to sit there and reboot it. We talked about this. You're not going to get much for Klay on the market. I think you could get something for Poole and you could get something for Wiggins, 2 offensive players. Here's my question. Who would they move if they had to choose? The one big name they would move.
If they could get off of Poole's contract at this point, I have to believe that they would.
Okay, but would they potentially? I mean, Klay has struggled.
Yes.
Would they move off Klay?
And Klay wants to get paid.
And there's no way you can pay him after this series.
No. I mean, this is the big issue with the team right now, is that they are living in the past. Klay Thompson is trying to recapture who he was. And when he was what he was before the injuries, he could take some crazy shots.
And he was also a better defender.
Well, that was the difference, is that if he missed one of those crazy shots, he could get you a stop at the other end. He wasn't going to give it up. They don't realize, and I thought that they would have learned this by now, especially after the Sacramento series, that their margin of error is not the same.
It's not.
They have to play closer to the vest. And that's for everybody. And yet I still see, look, they only had, I think, 16 turnovers last night. But at least a half dozen of them were of the careless type. I'm not, and by the way, shout out to the LA Fire Department. One of their members came up to me at the game last night and said, let Colin know that his Lakers takes are in cinders right now. I mean, I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but I wanted to say hello. I would have thought that they've learned who they are at this point. And I don't, look, the Lakers are taking advantage of the Warriors' mistakes. You cannot convince me that the Warriors, if they played more efficiently, are not the better team. But at this point, they haven't played that way, and I'm just wondering whether they simply cannot learn the lesson that they are not the old Warriors, that they have to play a different way.
Joe Lacob has not cared about the salary tax. He's burst through it multiple times, but losing can change a billionaire's perspective.
And with the new rules coming in, and having conversations with GMs right now about this, they can't keep everybody. Because under the new CBA, and I don't have all the ins and outs of it, but essentially you just don't have the wherewithal to just liberally pay everyone. So they're going to, whether it's Draymond, whether it's Klay, they're going to have to lose somebody.
Okay, but I can argue between Draymond's defense and his assists. I could keep him. I can argue he's a tough guy. I could argue Wiggins' athletic and twitchiness in the wing is valuable. I cannot pay Klay. There's no way. I don't care about the Splash Brothers. It's over. Nobody even uses that anymore.
This is the problem that Steve Kerr has, and he ran into it last night.
He's trying to be loyal.
Exactly. And you can't fault him as a human being.
Yeah.
Because all of the great performances that Klay gave you by not having a conscience. And then 2 years of fighting back, going through what he did to be able to play again and helping you win a championship last year. You know who I can see it with Steve.
You know who they need?
Who?
Jaylen Brown. That's the perfect player. A defender at the 2 who's super
That's
twitchy.
not a bad call at all.
That's who they need.
That's not a bad call.
What could you give Boston? If Boston loses and they say, okay, we're done running back Tatum, Marcus Smart, and you say, we'll give you Wiggins, we'll give you Jordan Poole. I'm just saying, if Boston does not get to a final or does and gets blown out by Denver, what they need is Jaylen Brown, that kind of player who's an athlete, who's an alpha, but has played with a star, so he'll be respectful. He doesn't run over Tatum or run over Steph. He totally understands. He's a great 2. I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah, no, it's not a bad idea. And I do feel like Jaylen Brown at this point is being held back by Jason Tatum being regarded as the best player on that team, as the alpha. And he has the game, he doesn't have the mentality.
Right.
And Jaylen Brown does. And that, when you're at cross purposes like that, I don't know that you ever really solve that well enough to win a championship.
Do you think the Warriors can come back and win the series?
I saw you put this up. I'm walking into the building, and I see the line. Rick's going to explain how the Warriors can come back from 3-1. And I'm like, I didn't sign up for that.
I didn't do that. That's a staff.
I don't believe that they will.
They can get to a Game 7.
Well, if they get to a Game 7, they win.
So you think they win the next one?
I think they win the next one, and I think they lose Game 6 in L.A. But I have said from the beginning, and I will hold to this, the Warriors have decided every game. I know there's Lakers fans out there, and Darvin Ham deserves a ton of respect for pulling the right strings. But the Warriors have done this to themselves. I was in the building last night. That crowd was nervous all the way through. And then when it was like, oh my gosh, the Warriors are handing it to us. Let's take this. Lonnie Walker, where'd you come from? Then they got excited. And I don't blame them. This Lakers team is doing far more than I expected them to do. But I did not expect, after the Kings series, I just thought the Warriors have learned their lesson.
Yeah, they figured it out.
You can't be throwing the ball around. You can't. Dante DiVincenzo, like inbounding the ball to Steph. And they just can't afford those mistakes. And I would think that they would have learned that. And they have not. So it's really hard to predict at this point. You cannot tell me that the Warriors are not the better team, but they have not played like it.
Yeah. It's when I watch, I put up a top 10 list earlier, and my list was.
You've already scratched it?
No. The 10 best players today in the playoffs. Yeah. And people push back on, what about Devin Booker? And my thing is, okay, I can think two things at once. He's on an all-time heater, and it's not sustainable. He had his best year ever this year and shot 49% from the floor. I don't think he's going to shoot 63% for the rest of the playoffs.
No, he's not. But you are not giving him credit for being a completely different Devin Booker.
Well, he doesn't play defense still.
He does more than he ever has. He's giving you effort there. I would watch more closely on that. I feel as if he's. Before, it was, I'm just going to try to outscore you. And if you double me, I'm going to try to beat the double team. You can't stop me. That was his whole attitude.
Do you have see, I think Denver's going to win the next two games and win the series. I think Phoenix doesn't have enough players.
I think it goes 7.
Wow, you do.
I do, and the only chance that I give the Nuggets is that they have home court advantage and that KD and Devin are playing big minutes and you got to play in altitude. That's the only reason.
Well, by the way, a lot of people think that's the Lakers' problem. If Denver wins this thing quickly, and the Lakers go 6 or 7 and then turn around the next day and fly to Denver, I mean, LeBron looks gassed now.
Yeah. But that to me is the only way that Denver, I like the Lakers against Denver overall. I don't like them against Phoenix.
Wow.
The way Phoenix is playing.
Phoenix has no bench. Monty Williams said, I'm just going to play guys who can shoot.
And it's worked. I mean, because he wasn't doing that earlier.
That's right.
Jock Landale's giving them some good minutes.
He is. Hey, J-Mac, you're Jock Landale.
And DeAndre Ayton is...
he is what he is.
Were you not listening? J-Mac looked up like, what?
No, Monty Williams gets his guys to play. Like, he's bringing these guys off the bench, and they're doing the best of what they do.
And DeAndre Ayton, I think, athletically is a better matchup for Anthony Davis. Is going to minimize what Anthony Davis is able to do. And then you've got, the one matchup is LeBron's going to try to back down and beat up whoever, the same as he's doing with the Warriors.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.